Welcome to the Rev Tech Summit. I am excited to have you here to share your insights into upgrading your Rev Tech at already successful and established companies. I'm Nicole Gillis, and I'm on the marketing team here at Signals, and I am joined by Gar Smyth of Mimecast and Jeremie Audran of Broadcom. Jeremie, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes, so it's Jeremie Audran. I'm the head VP of Global Marketing Operations. Work at Broadcom. Broadcom is a large primary semiconductor firms with some software divisions that people might know as Computer Associates or Symantec, and we grew through M&A. We're about 20-something thousand employees, 33 billion in revenue. So large scale, focused primarily on retention and of the customers. Gar?
Great. My name is Gar Smyth. I am VP of Revenue Marketing Operations at Mimecast. We're approximately 2,000 person company based in Massachusetts, but we sell globally. We are in cybersecurity, email security, information security, and archiving. And I've been here about 4 years. We've got 40,000 customers. We want to get more customers, so we're very much in a growth phase. And we want to retain and grow our existing install base as well.
Absolutely. Perfect. Well, let's dive into it. You guys both have different backgrounds. One at a still exponentially growing company, whereas you, Jeremie, you guys are more focused on retention. How are you navigating this ever-changing technology landscape at your already established companies?
Great question. Thanks, Nicole. So I arrived here about 4 years ago, and I'm probably in this role about 3 years. The first and most important thing when you think about any new technology is understand what the business goals are. What's the technology and data that you need in the context of what the business is trying to do? Jeremie talked about he's got a massive company with some massive customers. We scale from small all the way up to mid-size and large customers. We're very much in growth phase. We're acquiring new customers. We also want to retain our existing customers, and we want to upsell them as well. So understanding what the priority is for the business gives you the context of what's going to be acceptable and what projects you think you'll be able to move forward in any given time frame.
It's very interesting because our approach is a little bit different than you, Gar, because of our environment. We have, through the acquisition, our Broadcom's been around 30 plus years, so 30, 40 years. I don't even know the number, but it's been around for a very long time. Therefore, you have technology. Actually, officially was founded in 1961, so it's a few years old. So we have technology. Some of it looks like it's from 1960. That's just the way it is. But it also means that a lot of our technology is established from the point of view of it's working, it's proven. And very often in the business, we'll have why change anything if it's not broken? Or I've heard lately, well, I've never heard a complaint of this. I'm like, well, people maybe get tired of asking or complaining about it. So that's why you don't hear complaints, or you turn off the support button. So people are not going to complain because there's no way or no means for them to complain. So there's a very different approach, and very often people fall in two very specific camps. You have people who have been in the company established that are change averse. You're going to have to bring them on a journey with them. And you have other people that are newcomers to the company. They know what good looks like as a company, maybe smaller company, but they know what good looks like. And those are going to be easy advocate of yours, where you can use them to convince. But in all cases, you're going to have to do a lot of education. So a lot of processes, a lot of my time is spent educating my peers all across the different departments of why we should care about data hygiene. Why do we believe that having the right title in a CRM matters? Why having these signals matters? So a lot of education across the board.
Yeah, cross-functional support is going to be critical to moving any large data or technology project forward. If you don't have an executive alignment, you're probably going to be dead in the water. So what I recommend is you look at what are the priorities for your next financial year. What are the top strategic growth initiatives that you have, or strategic initiatives? is there a digital transformation initiative underway? Is there technology consolidation or cost saving initiatives underway that might allow you to get rid of some older tools and bring in some new ones? Are there new routes to market? Do you need to go after the federal industry, public sector? Are there new areas of the world that you're trying to penetrate? So all of these larger initiatives help you build up internal support to move a data or technology project forward.
Yeah, and those are actually all coming together. Very often at established companies, you cannot just walk in. The new guy, I've been here for 6 months. If I walk in and say, we're doing this, first of all, you're going to make a lot of enemies and people are going to say, no, we're not going to do those things. You don't understand the business yet, so it's hard to make full-on recommendation, except for the easy one, like, hey, we should enrich data with zoom info. It's kind of a pretty clear cut, whether you're using Clearbit, zoom info, or Dun & Bradstreet, you need to enrich your data. So those are easy, clear-cut wins. But more often, I find myself having to make sure that whatever I'm going to propose aligns with the company's strategy. We're here to retain customers in my world. And then go and look at the data. Well, do we have the data to be able to fulfill that strategy? And if we don't, what are we going to do about it? What are the processes we're going to have that's going to enable us to get to where we want based on that data that aligns to the strategy? And then eventually you might have some technology that you bring in to bolster or to make things easier. There's some technology that you use, like we use like People AI, to make life easier of reps. Like you can just go into their inbox, get the contact, get the information, and just post it. That's one less thing for them to them. Because sometimes technology will actually allow you to get the right data and make life of people easier. But other times people say, no, I don't want to press the button to record my call and transcribe it. Like you have to balance what you're going to bring to the table. And sometimes technology is not actually in the equation. You either don't have the budget or you already spend all your money on Zoom Info anyway. So you can't.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love that perspective. Okay, so Gar, you guys are still driving that new business. You're reaching to new sectors and everything. What data and technology is helping you improve this new business growth?
So probably about 80% of my job is focused on new prospect acquisition, pipeline generation. And the first and most important thing to do is to understand who your target audience is. So you need to build out your TAM, your total addressable market. There's lots of great vendors out there, some info, Dun & Bradstreet, Demandbase. They have oodles of data on accounts. Once you get those accounts in, ideally you want to get them into your CRM system. Then you want to score them. So you don't want to be going after global financial services conglomerates if you don't sell into them very well, and if you don't have one of those in your books already, right? You want to be able to identify your ICP, your ideal customer profile. What are the firmographic signals and demographic signals that suggest a company is a good fit? What industry are they in? What size are they in? What country are they in? If you are selling MarTech and you need to plug into Salesforce, you need to know if they have Salesforce in there. So you can score those in a simple system, give 1 point for every positive signal you see. You can also do some more advanced lookalike modeling, regression analysis to understand of my current customer. We've got 40,000 customers today. Of the 40,000 customers that we have, which companies that are not customers look like those ones that are customers, and then you can score them. So you want to enable your reps and BDRs to focus on A's and B's and try and break in there. You don't exclude them from the C's and D's if you see a positive buying signal, but in general, you want them to focus on the best accounts where they'll have the most success. Once you understand that, then, sorry, Jeremy, go ahead.
No, it's like I totally agree with this. And although currently I don't do any like growth business, very often what I've noticed is that scoring that model is kind of a feedback loop. It's like you send one, and that's why you have to have like really established processes. What's the feedback? How do you improve it? So yes, you thought this was really good. You sent to a rep, the rep says, nah, it wasn't good. And you don't have to be like, try granular, but why? And very often you're able to detect, so you can improve that scoring and feed. And eventually you end up with the way we did is like we rolled out a new scoring model every quarter because we knew the moment we launched, it needed work. So we kept going over and over and over. And that process of scoring, having the right signal gets better. There's vendors that sell intense data. So you're talking about firmographic. So like Donald Bradstreet, Zoom Info, Clearbit, there's all tons of vendors. And then you have like the Bombora that sells specific intent data.
Yeah.
These people are searching for email security software. If they're searching for that at that company and they have a search, very likely they're actually interested in it. So that can actually bring your score high. People used to bring intent in their scoring and just give it like a small little sleeve of the score. And then it turns out that, no, this was actually more important than 5 people clicking on an email. So suddenly like your weighing of your score becomes very important, the feedback and the weighing of the intent.
So on that initial ICP scoring, your fit, that never stops. You need to revisit it again and again and refine it. If you've built 2 or 3 different models to score your accounts, next year you may be going into different industries. You want to refine the score for that industry. Among healthcare, for example, maybe hospitals are a better play for you. On the behavior side, which is what Jeremie is jumping into, the way I think about it is third, second, and first party data in ever degrees of strength, right? Your third party data, your intent data, are they surging on a particular topic? Your second party data, are they on software review sites? Are they checking out your page or your competitors' pages around the topic of choice, email security, and other topics in the case of us? And then first party data, and that's our companies anonymously visiting your website and not engaging. Have people who have previously engaged with you and filled out your web form and you have them cookied, are they coming back and looking at new content? Have they filled out forms? What about field marketing events, trade shows, content syndication? These are activities that are happening that you own, that you can track. You want to aggregate all of that and be able to present it to reps who have target accounts that they're going after, so they can see which accounts are active, which are surging, which are visiting the website, and then the team of the BDR and the rep can team up to really get after and attack their territory TAM in a much more informed and intelligent way.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love that point of like, you need to constantly be iterating on your ICP and who you're targeting and giving those prioritizations to. Just even thinking about it in the current market, as we go through a recession, who's buying is changing. Like the mid-sized companies that were typically buying technology, they're not buying in the same way. Right now, it's companies are getting funding or acquired or that are experiencing large growth. So I love that idea that you need to constantly be iterating on that. Jeremie, what data and technology is helping you improve your retention rate now, especially in light of our current market? Retention is more important than ever.
Yeah, and it's a different business. Like the retention at enterprise software business, which is the side of the business where we tend to spend more time on our hand, is you selling them a license for a server farm, like for mainframe, whatever. You're not going to get a user who's logged in on that. You get usually no telemetry back. So you really have to go and get this type of signal on who's using your software. And it's more of an exploration process. How many support tickets do they have? And then based on the support tickets, you can go and look at what type of support tickets. Are they mad because it doesn't work, or they need help implementing or turning on another module? Those are different type of tickets. And then your sales reps have a lot of information because they talk with the executive. So we are able to get some of the what Gar is talking, like first party, second party, and third party. It's the same type of classification, but in turn. Third party might be from the sales rep. Second party might be the support ticket. First party is, they're on your website and all that. But funny enough, it's the invert of growth, because the first party data, which would be like your website, how many people come to your website? Well, you don't care as much. It's not as much of an indicator, but the conversation that they had with the sales rep is a much higher indicator. And so like we have to like really balance those and understand them. And ultimately here, marketing at Broadcom is a little bit different than others. We are more here to provide basic air coverage to our sales reps and then bubble up the top level contacts that are engaged with us. If they came to a trade show, sat down with one of our person to do a specific product demo or whatever, that is relevant. And if they're a VP or above, all the others might influence a deal, but we don't care as much. So what's important is when I started here at Broadcom, they told me they had a 360 view, or we have a 360 view of the customer. I'm like, that's great. Let's go and see it. And I realized that he had no marketing data, no intent data, no activity. It was all purely based, which by the way is very good signal, on the customer support tickets, the sales engagement, like all the data that is so hard to get usually, they already had that. So it made my life easier because now I can go and grab this and layer on and add to that single pane of glass the marketing activity, the sales rep inbox data and all those things to be able to bring the value back and literally agreement our database and our sales reps with, hey, you're talking with so-and-so, and that other rep from that other division is talking with the peer of that person there. That you want to know. That's what they care for. So it's slightly different. Yeah.
Whenever anybody tells you they have a 360-degree view of the customer, it's probably 270. It might be 180.
Exactly.
You know, it's probably not 360. And there's always going to be more data you can bring to the table potentially. And what in the case of customer retention, you're looking for high risk signals. Are there risk signals that will suggest that, like, if people are not logging into your tool, yep, that's important. They may not have logged a ticket, but they may not be happy with you and they've just given up logging tickets. Nobody is visiting your website. Like all of those things are also important for customer retention, depending on the business model.
Yeah, I like this whole saying, like, no news is good news. In our case, no news is really bad news, because if there's no support ticket, it means they're not using it, because no tool on the planet is perfect. So it means that there is something lacking. Also, in our world, it's a little bit different. When you work at the enterprise level with a family of product like we have, because we have like CA, Symantec, you tend to sell people like license for all you can eat buffet. So they might use one, they might use another, but they didn't like chicken, so they're not consuming chicken. But the only way you know is when they actually tell you, we're trying to consume this and we're having a problem, or can you please activate these licenses? All those are signals about what are they consuming across. And then you can see it on your website. People navigating to specific section of your website that are more in-depth. Those are signals, but it's a very different set of signal that I used before when I was in growth. Because in growth, it's a bit more clear cut in a way. It's a bigger scale, but it's clear cut.
In also, if you're in high growth SaaS business, a huge retention signal is when your technology is integrated or combined with another tool. So if you are selling marketing automation, if that's not plugged into the CRM system, the chances of you churning are very, very high. If the marketing automation system is plugged into 2 or 3 other technologies, that churn risk goes massively down, and chances are you're going to retain those customers long term.
Yeah, and also it's like sometimes you're so dependent on the tools that you have internally. What can you do, or the company setup? Like I'm in a CIO organization, so I'm in IT, no longer in marketing. I still run marketing operations, but I'm in IT. So sometimes you will be constrained because we only use Eloqua. That's our system of record, and we have an Oracle CRM. Well, Oracle CRM is perfectly fine in it, but it's not Salesforce. You don't have the flexibility of Salesforce. You don't have the flexibility of turning on modules. It's just different. So sometimes having all the data and the signals in one place is extremely hard. Then providing the data to your sales rep in the right context can be harder than in others. Everybody loves Salesforce because it makes some of those things easier, but nobody likes the bill that comes with Salesforce. Well, because we're a big company, the bill would get bigger. So we are an Oracle CRM, and therefore we have some limitations. Doesn't mean you cannot do it. You just need to be more creative about how you go about it.
No, nobody's taking my Salesforce license away from me.
Well,
Take that one to the grave.
depends who
Yep.
requires you.
True. So going into 2023 with all these different strategies, what are you changing? What are you trimming? What are you holding on to?
I know that on our side, I don't know for you, Gar, but on our side, we're in a rationalizations of our systems and processes. How more can you do with a lot less, or with what you should have? Very often, marketing organizations accumulate tools. And then when you have like us, we have a bunch of divisions, they accumulated a lot of tools. So you end up with like 5 webinar platforms. Well, that's cool, but you're also carrying 5 licenses cost, and you have 5 integration points that you have to maintain 5 times. Well, we took this opportunity, so now we only need 1. So that is a forcing function to rationalize how you're going to use it, which actually has some really positive side effects, some negative, because then you need to migrate everybody and say, hey, we were here, now we're there. But you have one central location, makes it easier to manage, makes it easier to market, makes it easier to go about doing business. So it's negative in a sense that it's painful, but it has a lot of positive long-term ramifications. So yes, it's hard. We're going to have to do more with less, but I believe we'll be better coming out of it.
Yeah, so for us, it's either do more with the same, do more with less, or do a lot more with a little bit more. Definitely 2023 and beyond, we have to be lean and efficient in all go-to-market efforts. Everybody's going to hear that story, no matter who you are, and nobody is going to have like massive growth budgets in 2023, given the environment, right? For us, it's we've spent several years improving our infrastructure. Now we want to use it, right? We're marketers. We love new toys and new tools. We've implemented some phenomenal tools. Now we need to maximize the use of them. We brought in data enrichment tools over the last few years. We brought in demand-based to help us aggregate everything together. We've SalesLoft. We have user gems to track, companies on the move, or people who move companies. We're working with Crossbeam for identifying channel partner technology in people's accounts. All of that, we've plugged it in, and we tend to run and pick up another tool and try and drive that new tool. We got to use what we have in order to both retain customers and grow new customers. And I think that's going to be the message across the board in 2023.
Yeah. Also, I would encourage people to think, which is what we're doing, is we're simplifying things. It's not just simplifying in terms of tool. We're looking at a data model and say, hey, we're moving from this place to that place. Cool. It's the opportunity to have the data in a way that makes it more flexible in the future. So trying to future-proof things, and also make it that if you're doing, in our world, like an M&A activity, that your framework is not so catered one way that you cannot adjust. And I think that for a lot of other business, they're like, oh, we're going to build a purpose-built setup. Yeah, guess what? Your business might do a shift. If you're too anchored on one way, that could be detrimental. So try to build things like more standard, out of the box, that require like less TLC to make it work, and allow yourself to kind of like broaden the horizon. Start looking more at the forest, or like more like the continent, and say, okay, well, yes, it's going to be painful if I don't have that tool, or I don't have these people. But if I had a clean slate, what would I do? Because what you're going to realize very often is, well, then let's just do that. I mean, it's going to be painful one way or the other, so let's just do it the right way. And don't accept that, oh, well, that's the way it was set up when it started. So, well, it's okay. It's okay to start fresh in some areas. And for me, like I had to change my approach in a lot of things to say, now let's keep it simple. let's make it that if another person walk into the room, they look at this and like, oh yeah, it makes sense. It's logical. It's versus trying to do too much under one roof, or to have like the single data object that solves like the eternal questions to everything, number 42 kind of thing. Like, you don't want that. You want something that is a little bit more flexible for the business to be able to move.
And you know, I realized that I said earlier that we need to focus on the technology that we already have and make sure it works. I also realize I'm probably selling or speaking to RevTech vendors here. If you're selling new tech, one of the ways to sell that new tech in is to sell against how you can take an existing process internally in a company that works, that we know it works, and you can make it better and you can codify it. So you know, in 2023, you need to be very efficient with your sales BDRs and your marketing dollars. You need to, you know, walk well-trod, well-worn paths to get to customers. You need to focus on segments that you have been that have worked in the past. And there's lots of tools out there maybe that we don't have today that can help codify what those successful endeavors and motions are. And so you can still sell in 2023. You need to be able to sell against constrained budgets, constrained people, and constrained resources and time as well.
I love that. I love that.
And I'll had one last thought.
Yes.
Which is listen to other people. So one thing that I'm doing a lot is I'm going to this type of conferences like we're doing today, and I have like peer groups here in like the Boston area, another where I go to, and I just ask questions that we have this problem. How did you solve this? Because all of us in the RevTech and MarTech world have solved some problems. We just solve them maybe differently. And somebody else might have the answer to your problem because they've faced that specific problem. So listening to how the people do is a great eye opener, because quite frankly, like, we're not ultimately the smartest people around, and other people have solved it. So let's go and have that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I loved this. Thank you guys so much for taking time to meet with me and share with our attendees about upgrading your RevTech and what you're doing right and wrong. But I hope you guys have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us, Nicole.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye-bye.